Back in the day, Shigeru Miyamoto was a powerhouse of a game developer slash producer, director, all that stuff. But then over the years, he's kind of stepped further and further away from like the day-to-day hands-on game development. The number of projects with his fingerprints all over them kind of shrank. It started to be like every once in a while there'd be something where like clearly he was very involved, like Star Fox Zero or Pikmin 3 or something like that. But those games, they really did just get fewer and farther between. Further between? Whatever. I can't remember exactly what year it was off the top of my head, but it was probably a goodly number of years by now that he became creative fellow. He kind of took a position in the company that was a little bit more, vague, I guess. Just kind of like, he works at the company, he has a great salary because he's Miyamoto, he could probably just he's made enough money for the company, he could just do whatever he wants. That's the way I've always seen it. But he'd kind of supervise, he would give just like input on games, do play testing, and he did have the reputation for a while of even being in that place, even if he wasn't like hands-on making a bunch of games, he was still really good at killing them. And this isn't me just being salty about Sticker Star, that did happen, but like even by his own words, he has admitted that he had this habit of upending the tea table, of like going into a project and being like, this stinks, and just like throwing it all away. And I'm Miyamoto and you gotta listen to me, which is scary. Definitely scary. I don't like to imagine what kinds of great projects he just killed because he didn't like them, but whatever. That's not the point today. But yeah, mostly supervisory, creative fellow, just a guy, and he creates things. And of course, he's been branching even further away from there, and we didn't always know exactly what he was getting up to. Now, it's a little bit easier to see. It's the Mario movie. He's been working like crazy. He did work on the first Mario movie for quite a number of years. I imagine that took up a lot of his time. He probably was involved pretty well. I can't remember exactly what he did, or did I ever know? Probably not. What exact credit does he have on Pikmin 4? I'm not sure. Pikmin is his baby. I don't know how much he was involved in the process. I imagine probably a lot, but at the same time, he was probably busy with Mario, and that game does not feel like a Miyamoto game. Just like, I still don't understand how Pikmin 4 is the way that it is. It seems to really go against a lot of the design philosophies he put into the first game in particular. Once again, though, that's not the point of the video. He's just been stepping further and further away over the years, and now he's really going gung-ho on the movies. He did the first one, now he's doing the second one, and he's doing Zelda, so he's pretty much just like the movie guy at this point. And then he probably, a lot of input into like the Nintendo Museum and Super Nintendo World and all that stuff. So the point I'm trying to make, the point of this video, is that he has admitted that yes, even more than ever, he is stepping away. Probably more so than I think I maybe ever really expected. I kind of imagined that no matter what, if he was at that company, he would still, we're talking like Mario, we're talking like a Mario game. He would always be there to still steer the ship, at least give big suggestions. I could still imagine that if he didn't like something, he could probably veto it. I really don't know. But let's just read the quote. He's been doing a bunch of interviews and stuff. And in an interview with VGC, I will put the link to the full article in the description. He says, "Nowadays, I have teammates who help maintain the world of Mario, so I entrust much of it to them. Even so, I always personally play through about the first 30 minutes of the game and check the interface thoroughly to make sure it really feels like Mario." So he's saying that basically he is still playing the games, but I feel like saying he plays through the first 30 minutes, you can't even measure minutes of a game until your game is pretty far along, he's not even saying, I'll check the prototype and make sure that all the mechanics are good. No, he's talking about the game is pretty close to being done, or at least pretty far along if you've got a first 30 minutes. He just wants to make sure it's all good. I'm sure he does give a lot of little suggestions and stuff, but I don't know, that seems very very pulled back to me. That sounds like it's mostly just checking in that things feel right. Because Nintendo's big about feel. Miyamoto is very, very, very good about just feel. How does something feel to do? But then he goes on to say, up through Super Mario Odyssey, I feel we've done just about everything we could do on the Switch. In the past, whenever a new console came out, we always released a new Mario game. So I do wonder how the current team will take on that challenge. Okay, so that's another very, very revealing part of the quote right there. Like, he's gonna be around, and he's gonna, play the first 30 minutes or whatever, but just being like, oh yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do. Like, whoa. So, like, you're not even around for the initial planning, even like what's the idea? What's the idea that we're gonna build this game off of? You're a creative fellow, even if you're not gonna, like, hands-on direct the game. You could still be there for, like, the planning phase, but no, he's just like, the Mario team is gonna do whatever the Mario team is gonna do, and I wonder what they're gonna do. Really does suggest that he's taken a real far back seat, And then, finally, he says, but maybe I'll say, I won't look anymore. And then he laughs. I just hope to stay healthy until Mario's 50th anniversary. So right there, it's sort of a joke. You can tell, because he laughs, and when people laugh, it's like kind of a joke. But even just the fact that he's kind of jokingly suggesting that he'll just stop paying attention at all means that I feel like that means it's at least a possibility. He's genuinely saying, like, yeah, I might just stop paying attention and just trust them to do what they're going to do. And I just feel like that's huge. That really, the very idea, the idea that it would even pass his lips, that he could let them just do whatever they want with Mario because he trusts them to do something good. I mean, when does Nintendo not do a cool thing with Mario? I just think that's really interesting. I know the guy's busy, but it can't be that hard to have him just, like, come in, once every week or two for, like, a half-hour briefing of, like, what's the game and what's going on, and get his input. But, like, even that, he might even step away from that. And I feel like that really does indicate a really massive shift. Well, I mean, it's been gradual, but gradually over time, it has added up to a very, very massive shift in his involvement with games. I mean, he's so busy with the movie stuff, and yeah, again, the museum and just all the, like, extra stuff. It almost seems like he's stepping away from the video game part entirely. Like, I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his plans are. I don't know how many other games we can expect to see him have little credits on or whatever. But again, that's been drying up over time. Miyamoto just, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to say this, because even back when he was kind of transitioning away, it was like, I guess that sort of makes sense. But, like, he's Miyamoto. He's Mr. Genius Game Designer. He invented every video game he invented video games. So it was weird, the idea that he would just stop making games as much. And now, like, we can say Shigeru Miyamoto, he still works at Nintendo, but he, like, doesn't really make games anymore. He's really not even that involved in Mario anymore. That's crazy. It's just really crazy. And I do think that's a good thing. I of course don't want this to just be like a Miyamoto bashing video. I know he and I have had differing opinions on things from time to time. But even if I want to be a little bit more reasonable and not drudge up all my sticker star trauma and all that stuff, leaving all of that aside, I do think that overall there does come a time when the old guard kind of needs to not necessarily step down, but just kind of, like, look at where their strengths are. And I do think that a lot of his game design ideas are a little bit old-fashioned. I feel like they're kind of rooted in the time when he was the most active, and that's not even necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's just kind of like how people work. Again, he's all about feel. He understands the feel and the spirit of Mario, of a lot of things, but, like, Mario in particular. So it makes a lot of sense that he would be working on things like the theme parks and the movies and things like that, because he gets it. He made Mario. He understands it very, very well. Whereas designing games, you know, like creating the brand new video games for the brand new people to play right now in the year 2025, you can't mess around with that. You really do have to be dialed in to what people are looking to play. You know, that there is something to be said for creative freedom and all that stuff, but you reach a certain point where it's like you do have to understand your audience, you know, to a degree. And he's been doing this for so long. It's not even like anything against him. Pretty much anyone in his position may be the same way, where it's just like you just find something better suited to your strengths. Your strengths might not be in creating new video games right now. He probably is still pretty strong about like playing a game and you know, giving advice and figuring out the feel and all that stuff. That's not to say he's like worthless at that now, you know, as long as he's not flipping the tea table on a bunch of like really cool stuff. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. All that to say, it's interesting to see how things have gone with him, and he seems to be thriving. He seems to be absolutely thriving, working on all these movies and stuff. He's probably having the time of his life, honestly. It looks like he is. Like he's got it. I mean, you see him in like the directs for like Nintendo World, and he's having the time of his life designing all this. He's an Imagineer. You know what I mean? He's just like, he really is embodying the creative fellow title. He's just kind of like a guy at Nintendo who can just make stuff. It's a very like Jim Henson kind of thing. Jim Henson could also be very hands-on with like individual projects, but there were so many times when he would just find the right people, got me talking about Jim Henson now, find the right people, put them on the project, and then just completely walk away. Just be like, I trust them. They can do whatever they want. And, you know, especially later in his career, he was an idea guy. And in fact, before he died, Disney was going to buy the Muppets in like the late 80s. And he was going to like kind of detach from the individual production of like shows and movies and stuff and be more of an idea guy. And he was going to like design Muppet rides at Disney World. And I don't know, it's a very similar position that Miyamoto is now in. He's put in the work. He's gotten his hands dirty, you know, and he's kind of like slowly graduated to higher and higher, more broad and idea-based positions and projects and whatnot. So whatever Miyamoto's doing right now and whatever he's going to continue to do in the future, I do wish him the best. I mean, he's got to be at retirement age. And in fact, a number of years ago, kind of around the Creative Fellow thing, there was like this idea that he was retiring. There was even stuff that he was saying that kind of like over time, every once in a while, he'll say something that really kind of makes it sound like he is, but I think he's just having too much fun with the movies and stuff. Like, yeah, he could step away right now. He's old enough, but he's probably just going to work till he drops dead. He's going to be 106, and he's just going to keel over at his desk one day with a massive smile on his face, I'm sure. The happiest and most content, accomplished person who has ever lived.